Welcome to our video on the top 10 web security best practices you need to know. I'm so glad you could join us today because frankly this stuff really matters. We live in a digital age where everything from our shopping to our banking is done online, and while that brings a ton of convenience, it also brings risks. That's why securing your web applications is more important than ever. We're talking about protecting your data, your customers' data, and your reputation because, let's face it, nobody wants to be the next headline for a data breach, right? So whether you're a seasoned developer or just starting out, this video is for you. Let's dive in and explore the essential security practices that will help you build and maintain secure web applications. All right, let's kick things off with authentication. This is your first line of defense, like the lock on your front door. We need to make sure that only authorized users can access your application. Now, you might be tempted to cobble together your own authentication system, but trust me, it's more complex than it looks. There are a lot of ways it can go wrong, leaving your app vulnerable to attack. So, what's the solution? Well, instead of reinventing the wheel, I strongly recommend using established, well-tested mechanisms like OAuth or OpenID Connect. Think of these as industry-standard locks that have been rigorously tested and are trusted by experts. OAuth and OpenID Connect provide a secure and standardized way to authenticate users without requiring them to share their passwords directly with your application. This is crucial for protecting user credentials and preventing unauthorized access. Remember, a secure authentication system is the foundation of a secure web application. Don't skimp on this. Next up, we need to talk about validation and sanitization. Think of this as being a bit cautious about what people are telling you. Don't just believe everything you hear, right? When it comes to web applications, you should never ever trust user input blindly. Always assume that it could be malicious. Hackers are clever, and they're always looking for ways to exploit vulnerabilities in your code. One common attack vector is called SQL injection. This is where attackers try to sneak malicious code into your database queries, potentially giving them control over your entire database. Yikes! Another nasty one is cross-site scripting, or XSS. This is where attackers inject malicious scripts into your web pages, which can then steal user data or even hijack their sessions. Not good. So how do we prevent these attacks? By diligently validating and sanitizing all user input. This means checking that the data is in the expected format, length and character set, and it also means escaping or encoding any special characters that could be used to execute malicious code. Okay, let's talk about encryption. Imagine sending a postcard in the mail. Anyone who handles that postcard can read what you've written, right? That's what it's like sending data over the internet without encryption. HTTPS, or SSL/TLS as it's sometimes called, is like putting that postcard in a secure envelope. It encrypts the communication between the client, your user's browser, and the server, your web application, making it much harder for eavesdroppers to intercept sensitive information. Think about all the data that's transmitted when someone uses your web application: login credentials, credit card details, personal information. Without HTTPS, this data is vulnerable to being snooped on by malicious actors. The good news is that setting up HTTPS is easier than ever these days. There are plenty of free and paid SSL/TLS certificates available, and once you have your certificate installed, it's just a matter of configuring your web server to use HTTPS. So do yourself and your users a favor, encrypt your website with HTTPS. It's a simple but essential step for protecting sensitive data. Chapter 4. Use secure data storage mechanisms. Now let's talk about how you store data. If you're collecting sensitive information from your users, you have a responsibility to protect it. Think of it like safeguarding precious jewels. You wouldn't just leave them lying around in plain sight, would you? The same principle applies to data. Never store sensitive information such as passwords or credit card numbers in plain text. That's like leaving the crown jewels in a cardboard box. Instead, use strong encryption methods to protect your data at rest. There are several ways to achieve this. One option is to use encrypted databases. These databases encrypt your data automatically, making it much harder for attackers to access even if they manage to breach your systems. Another option is to encrypt sensitive files before storing them. This can be done using encryption tools or libraries available for various programming languages. The key is to make sure that the encryption keys are stored securely and separately from the encrypted data. Remember, data breaches can be costly and damaging to your reputation. By using secure data storage mechanisms, you can significantly reduce the risk of a breach and protect your valuable assets. Chapter 5. Follow secure coding guidelines. Let's be honest, writing secure code isn't always easy. It's like building a house. You need to make sure the foundation is solid, the walls are strong, and there are no gaps for burglars to sneak through. Fortunately, there are experts who have developed secure coding guidelines to help us out. These guidelines provide best practices and recommendations for writing code that is resistant to common vulnerabilities. One of the most well-regarded sets of guidelines is the OWASP Secure Coding Practices. OWASP stands for the Open Web Application Security Project, and they're a fantastic resource for all things web security. Their secure coding practices cover everything from input validation and output encoding to authentication and session management. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Guidelines? Sounds boring. But trust me, following these guidelines can save you a lot of headaches down the road. It's much easier to build security in from the start than to try to bolt it on later. So make it a habit to consult and follow secure coding guidelines throughout your development process. Your future self will thank you for it. Chapter 6. Develop an incident response plan. Okay, let's be realistic. No matter how secure your web application is, there's always a chance that something could go wrong. It's like having a fire extinguisher. You hope you never have to use it, but it's crucial to have one handy just in case. That's where an incident response plan comes in. It's a documented plan that outlines the steps to take in the event of a security incident. Think of it as a fire drill for your web application. A good incident response plan should cover things like how to identify and contain an incident, how to eradicate the threat, how to recover from the incident, and how to learn from the experience to prevent similar incidents from happening again. It's important to involve key stakeholders in the development and testing of your incident response plan. This includes your development team, your security team, if you have one, and even your legal and PR teams. Remember, the key to effective incident response is to be prepared. By having a plan in place, you can minimize the impact of a security incident and get back to business as usual as quickly as possible. Let's talk about software updates. I know they can be a bit of a pain. Sometimes it feels like every time you turn around, there's a new update to install. But trust me, keeping your software up to date is crucial for maintaining a strong security posture. Think of software updates like getting regular checkups at the doctor. Just like those checkups help identify and address potential health issues early on, software updates often include security patches that fix vulnerabilities that could be exploited by attackers. Ignoring software updates is like leaving your front door unlocked. It's only a matter of time before someone takes advantage of the vulnerability. Hackers are always on the lookout for systems that haven't been patched, and they're quick to exploit any weaknesses they find. So how often should you update your software? Ideally, as soon as possible after updates are released. Many software vendors offer automatic updates, which can save you time and effort. Remember, regular security updates and patching are essential for keeping your web application secure and protected from emerging threats. Now let's talk about web application firewalls, or WAFs for short. Think of a WAF as a bodyguard for your web application. Just like a bodyguard protects a VIP from physical threats, a WAF protects your application from malicious traffic and attacks. WAFs act as a shield between your application and the outside world, filtering out malicious requests and preventing them from reaching your servers. This helps to protect against a wide range of attacks, including SQL injection, cross-site scripting, and cross-site request forgery. There are two main types of WAFs: network-based WAFs and host-based WAFs. Network-based WAFs are typically deployed as hardware appliances and are positioned at the edge of your network. Host-based WAFs, on the other hand, are installed on the servers that host your web application. Both types of WAFs have their pros and cons, so it's important to choose the right one for your specific needs and budget. But regardless of which type you choose, implementing a WAF can significantly enhance the security of your web application. Okay, let's talk about security monitoring and logging. Imagine trying to solve a crime without any evidence or witness statements. It would be pretty difficult, right? The same principle applies to web security. Without proper monitoring and logging, it's difficult to detect and respond to security incidents effectively. It's like trying to solve a mystery without any clues. Security monitoring involves continuously monitoring your web application and its underlying infrastructure for suspicious activity. This can include things like unusual traffic patterns, failed login attempts, and unauthorized access attempts. Security logging, on the other hand, involves recording security-related events and activities. This can include things like user logins, file accesses, and database queries. By implementing robust security monitoring and logging, you can gain valuable insights into what's happening on your systems, detect security incidents early on, and gather evidence to support incident response and forensic investigations. Last but not least, let's talk about the human element of web security. Even with the best technical security measures in place, human error can still leave your web application vulnerable. Think about it, a single employee clicking on a phishing link or using a weak password can compromise your entire system. That's why it's essential to provide regular security awareness and training to your team. Security awareness training should cover topics such as password security, phishing scams, social engineering, and safe browsing habits. It's important to make the training engaging and relevant to your employees' roles. Don't just make it a boring annual compliance requirement. Instead, consider incorporating security awareness tips into regular team meetings, sending out periodic security newsletters, or even running simulated phishing exercises to test your employees' awareness. Remember, security is everyone's responsibility. By investing in security awareness and training, you can create a culture of security within your organization and empower your team to become the first line of defense against cyber threats. Thanks for watching. We've covered a lot of ground today, from secure authentication and data encryption to incident response planning and security awareness training. I hope you found it helpful. By following these best practices, you can significantly enhance the security of your web applications and protect your business and your users from cyber threats. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more tips on staying secure online. And remember, in the world of web security, a little bit of effort goes a long way. Stay safe out there.